And I would not want to be a creator coming after me, man. I would not fuck with me at all, to be completely honest.
Challenge accepted. What, you guys thought I'd be scared about going after the big bald man? Let's just put it this way. I have about as many fucks to give as Tectone has hair on his head. As in, 0, because, you know, bald. Not like me though. I'm balding, not bald. There's a difference. So last week I released a video titled Wuthering Waves' Biggest Problem, where I point out that I feel the biggest issue that needs to be addressed in Wuthering Waves right now is the echo experience scarcity issue, as well as the tuners and how they're currently being used in-game. I've had a fair bit of feedback from the community and addressed most of it on stream, but I wanted to make this video for Tectone specifically because out of all the people that have responded, I feel like he's the only one that has any real degree of experience in the gacha genre, unlike some who have only played Hoyo games and Wuthering Waves and quite frankly don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Now, Tectone released a 16-minute and 46-second video reacting to my video, and then a couple of days later we talked a little on stream to get further clarity. So before you watch this video, I would highly recommend you watch those videos first to get full context on what is going to be said going forward. Links will be in the description. That being said, this is not a reaction, this is a response. This is not drama, this is a conversation. Anyone who thinks it's drama clearly doesn't know what the word means. And anyone who tries to spin this as drama just to have two content creators fight each other really... I'm sorry, but you need to get a life. So let's get right into it. Echo experience. I said that echo experience should be infinitely farmable, by which I mean being able to use any trash echoes farmed in the overworld as a small portion of echo experience fodder. That's all I meant by infinite echo experience farming. I don't mean to have tacit fields, etc. also be infinitely farmable too, but this is what Tectone had to say about that. I think that echo experience should be infinitely farmable.
Nah, it's bad. It has to be a gotcha at the end of the day. For player retention, this would cause far too much burnout. You don't want this, because that's going to cause severe burnout, because players will never be able to stop playing.
He seems to think that players being able to play the game for extended periods will lead to player burnout, which will then lead to players leaving, and that's why it's better to limit the amount of playtime a player gets per day.
It's much better for the business model of Wuthering Waves and player retention to have daily check-ins for the success long-term of this game.
So if I understand him correctly, he's saying play too long, players burn out. Players burn out, players quit. Players quit, fewer players. Less players, less profit for Kuro. I get the reasoning, but to be honest, I think that ship has sailed already. With players being able to infinitely farm echoes in the overworld, there is no limit on how much someone can effectively play per day. Some players are already spending several hours per day farming for the correct main stat on the correct set in the overworld, to which Tectone thinks is a good thing.
The echoes should be infinitely farmable, and they are.
So spending multiple hours in the overworld farming echoes but not being able to level them is good, but spending multiple hours in the overworld farming echoes but then also being able to use those trash echoes as experience fodder is not good. If the extended playtime leading to burnout was the problem, I don't know why you'd be for one but not the other. They both take exactly the same amount of time. But on the idea of what causes player burnout, I don't agree. What I think causes burnout is the lack of foreseeable progression in your account. When you're grinding for weeks upon months to build a single character and you don't see any progression, when players feel helpless after putting in so much time and effort and they have nothing to show for it at the end of it all, that is what causes player burnout. It's not the grind, it's the lack of any kind of progression, in my opinion anyway. That's why I brought up MMOs as an example to show that people enjoy grinding for hours per play session, and this is what you said about that.
Nobody wants Wuthering Waves to be an MMO.
I never said I did.
Gotcha MMOs fucking suck balls.
I 100% agree.
Saying another game of another genre has this and it works, well, because it works, it's because it's in a different genre.
Okay. But just putting something from that one genre into another one doesn't automatically make it that thing. You know, like just because I put a slice of lettuce in my burger doesn't make it a salad. Many of these games include puzzles. Doesn't make them puzzle games, even though puzzle gacha games do exist. The very first gacha games were puzzle games, in fact. Many of these gacha games incorporate rhythm game mechanics into the gameplay. That doesn't make them rhythm games either, even though rhythm game gachas do also exist. Many gacha games include different mechanics from every game genre, because gacha isn't a genre, it's a monetization system. Honkai Star Rail is a turn-based strategy RPG. It's also a gacha. Xenoblade Zero is a combat action RPG. It's also a gacha. Genshin is an open-world adventure RPG. It's also a gacha. Love and Deep Space is a Gunri otome game. It's also a gacha. There is literally nothing that connects or divides these games, except for how the developers make their money from the players by players buying characters and or weapons. In fact, the term gacha game doesn't even exist here in Japan.
Gacha game って言うんだな。ガチャゲームって言う。ガチャって言うんだ。
The closest thing we have is Soshage, which also includes a lot of other non-gacha titles too. But besides all that, we already have MMO levels of unlimited grind in this game, you know, with the overworld echo farming. You were even praising that later in the video.
This game has a system where you can infinitely farm echoes with the proper main stat.
The only thing I'm arguing for is that at the end of it all, after grinding for several hours, you can use those trash echoes as experience fodder. And besides, we also have this new fishing minigame, which allows for even further playtime, with rhythm game mechanics as well. That doesn't make Wuthering Waves a rhythm game. Players don't get burnt out from doing these things. If anything, being able to spend more time in these games is more likely to increase players' moods. There was this study published at the end of last year in the Journal of Medical Internet Research, which looked into what effect playing open world games like Zelda Breath of the Wild had on players' moods, and this was the conclusion. Open world games offer substantial benefits for cognitive escapism, significantly improving relaxation and well-being among postgraduate students. The immersive and autonomous nature of these games is crucial in reducing stress and enhancing mental health. Future research may investigate the long-term effects of regular engagement with open-world games and explore their potential therapeutic applications for managing stress and anxiety. Being forced to grind? Sure, but nobody's forcing them to grind. If players get tired, they can just stop playing. Besides, that is under the assumption that many of the players have infinite time to play this game. Most people are going to school, going to work, or doing something else with their life. In a nutshell, no. Players would not get burnt out from being able to infinitely farm and then level up their echoes. Right now, all you can do with these trash echoes is recycle them.
I think echo recycling is fine for what it is.
Okay, this is something I didn't really touch on in my previous video, but you really think it's fine? Tectone, you can't really believe that, can you? If anything, this data merge system is actually worse than Genshin's Strongbox. At least that one gives you the option to choose which set you want to merge them into. With this one, however, you have nothing at all. And might I remind you that this was your experience with the Artifact Strongbox.
Oh my god. We've gone through like 1 billion. Hoyoverse, are you watching? I'm almost out of all my artifacts and I don't have a single piece I'm like stoked for. If you want me to quit your game, just tell me. Send me a DM and say, hey bro, get the fuck off of our game.
Yeah, I've been a long-time viewer. Since your Arknights days, I was there. I saw you rage at the Genshin systems, and data merging is quite literally worse than that. Not even a Sonata set selector. But that was just about the echoes. We haven't even gone to the main thing I want to bring you up on. Tuners. Now, before we go any further, I want to say I fully understand your position on tuners. You want them out. You think that stats should be instantly viewable and unlocked when the echo reaches the required level to remove that extra step. And I'll be honest, after hearing your opinion, yeah, I agree. Is an extra needless step. I think Kuro put that in there to differentiate their system from Hoyo's. So I want to take your system and implement it into mine.
I micro-adjusted it to be something that I can get behind.
But I still don't think they should remove tuners entirely. You think they're useless? Why not repurpose them and make them something actually useful? And how would they be reused? Substat rerollers and selectors. In your initial reaction, this is what you said about the new use of tuners I put forward.
I mean, yeah, that's way easier. And yeah, that would be really good, but I don't think that's good for the long-term business model of Wuthering Waves. It would be cool though, but they're just like, you're fucking high as fuck if you think they're gonna put that in the game. You need to understand what is viable for Kuro Games staying profitable, as well as what benefits the players. You need to balance business and player happiness.
So having a substat reroller selector mechanic is not good for long-term business of Wuthering Waves, despite it having a negligible effect on their profits because they don't monetize their ecosystems. They'll never implement it, even though they already have in PGR. I need to understand what is viable for gacha games when there is a multitude of other gacha games that already have generous substat reroller and selector mechanics, although some are stingy, I'll admit. And I need to take into consideration a decent balance of business and player happiness when my system has no effect on business and would have a huge positive effect on player happiness. If anything, I think such a system could bring in more players, and by doing so could potentially increase their profits they make per patch. This won't bring in the players that don't like any RNG, because there is still a significant amount of RNG in the system I laid out. To be honest, these statements from you really confuse me because they go against everything you've said in the past about these artifact substat reroller selector systems.
指定词条的剩遗物。
指定词条吗？
没错
Oh, that's cool.
这个指定词条不仅能够指定主
That's
词条的属
awesome,
性种类
actually. I will admit, the artifact change was cool, though, where they made us be able to choose the main stat and choose the 2 substats. That's awesome. That's a really good change.
So I left a message on the video and also in Discord and hung around a little later than my usual time to bring this up with you on stream. And it was odd. I went into that conversation intending to convince you that substat rerollers and selectors are a good idea that we should have in Wuthering Waves with a list of other gacha games that had them, and pretty much straight off the bat you said this.
With your other system, that is something that we're currently lacking in Wuthering Waves. I do think that this is something that we will get.
Wait, what? But you just said...
I don't think that's good for the long-term business model of Wuthering Waves. You're fucking high as fuck if you think they're gonna put that in the game. Absolutely not.
And then later on in our conversation, you said this too.
Like, if you were to say, you need like 100 of them or 200 of them in the video, I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. But it's because you didn't specify how many tuners you're going to need.
You could hear me flabbergasted in the call.
Many tuners you're going to need.
Because I did say how many tuners I think it should be. 2 or 3 times, in fact. I gave very specific numbers.
Okay, you want me to pull the video?
I wish you did. At one point, I had them very clearly on screen, which you paused on for a whole 32 seconds. I timed it. And then after that, when I explained how many, again, 50 for a reroll, 200 for a subset selector.
Yeah, I think that would just be way too low. Like, if you were to say you need like 100 of them or 200 of them in the video, I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah, I think that would just be way too low. If you want to send me a clip of anything that you think I pivoted on, you're more than welcome to, because that's going to cause severe burnout because players will never be able to stop playing. The echoes should be infinitely farmable, and they are. If you want to send me a clip of anything that you think I pivoted on, you're more than welcome to. You can infinitely farm echoes with the proper main stat. So no, it would not be infinite farming. If you want to send me a clip, you're fucking high as fuck if you think they're going to put that in the game. Absolutely not. Of anything that you think I pivoted on, that thing is 1,000,000% coming, by the way. You're more than welcome to.
I mean, you asked. Now, these next two things don't really have to do with the system I laid out, but rather the way you were representing it.
Every character, you get them in one pull. Yep, that's how they fix their game. When you go to buy a pack, you don't give money to Kuro, they give you the money. It would be freaking epic if everybody got a free Huawei whenever they played Wuthering Waves.
This frames my idea as asking for Kuro to give us everything, even at the expense of their own profits. Like I said before, Kuro doesn't make any money from their ecosystems, and any money they do make from players refreshing energy each day is negligible. I mean, no one says, look how much money these daily resets made this month. It's always been about the characters and the weapons, but even more so the characters. Now that I think about it, if anything, I think this makes it more likely for Dolphins to spend because they know that if they spend money to buy more Astrite to refresh that energy, to get those tuners, they can guarantee that they'll get that substat that they're trying to get. No? And no, I don't think whales would leave either, because A, there's still RNG even at that subset selector, B, most whales just spend money to S6 R5 characters and never cared about echoes in the first place, and C, the whales who do care about echoes will now be even more incentivized to play and spend more money to get that holy grail echo with all 5 perfect subsets with max rolls on each of them. And to that point you said,
when a player feels like they've beaten the game, they stop playing.
But like I said, these games are live service. There's no end for them to clear.
That's why a lot of these games don't have endgame bosses, and why they don't have endgame.
Wait, what? Tectone, what do we call Tower of Adversity? What do we call Elusive Realm? What do we call Whimpering Wastes, besides a terribly named joke? What do we call all these things put into the game? This is endgame, no? And endgame bosses? There's the fight with Dreamless, fight with Jue, fight with Fallacy of No Return, and now more recently the fight against Hecate in Renacita. There are endgame bosses and there are endgame modes in these games. And when I talked about maxing every character in Dynasty Warriors, you asked,
do you still play Dynasty Warriors every day? Or did you stop? And did you stop because you completed them all? I have a feeling that answer might be yes.
No, I don't. But I've played Dynasty Warriors 3, 5, 6 Empires, 9 Empires, and I've done every character's story and maxed out every character in all of those games too. And they just released Dynasty Warriors Origins, so I'm probably going to do the same there too. The point of me bringing that up is to show that many players like to grind to build multiple characters and will do so if given the tools to do so. The difference between Dynasty Warriors and games like Wuthering Waves is that Wuthering Waves is a live service game, so they can consistently bring out new characters, new stories, and new things for people to collect and build. So I and everyone else will never get to the point where we can complete the game. Even if I had every character maxed out in the game right now, I would still be interested in returning to continue the story, to try out the minigames, and to then build the new characters. This is the carrot on the stick that you were talking about. The live service aspect of this game is the carrot. It's not the echoes. I'm sorry for the links to this video, and I hope you weren't offended in any way. I have nothing but respect for you, Tectone. You're a smart guy who has been nothing but kind and respectful to me, and I greatly appreciate you giving me the time of day. Just the difference between what you said in your initial react and what you said when we were in VC had me confused, and I wanted to lay it all out there. Like I said at the beginning of this video, this isn't drama. It's just a discussion. Discussing things like this is what it means to be an adult, and I think that what happened was that when you saw my idea, you saw it as like a rival to your solution and went on attack mode. You saw it as a rival, and I don't think it has to be. After hearing your opinion, I've revised the system to keep tuners as something that still exists in the game, but remove them as the thing that is needed to unlock substats. Here's the new version. Along with all the echo experience things I mentioned before, such as using trash level 0 echoes as experience fodder, etc., substats automatically unlock once they reach the required level. For 50 tuners, you can choose to randomly reroll any substat. For 300 tuners, you can designate the substat. Substats can be chosen, but the amount you get is still at that 1 in 8 chance RNG. The reason for this 300 tuners number is that 280 is the maximum amount of tuners a player can get per week, not including any tuners from events. So roughly 1 guaranteed substat per week, which I think is fair. To incentivize whales, there is already a package of 1,200 tuners per patch if bought with Coral. So maybe make another pack with another 1,200 tuners or something to earn more money. That would give whales an advantage, but as long as this game stays PvE, I don't think it really matters. As for the incentive for free-to-play players to log in each day, that would be to use wave plates to acquire tuners to further perfect echoes. Players should be grinding for perfection. not just mediocrity. I think this is the system that we agreed in our conversation, and this is what players should be asking for in the feedback survey. But still, I'm open to hearing everyone's ideas. At the end of the day, I don't care if it's my system that gets implemented or not. There are many different ways that they can sort this issue. As long as the issue gets fixed, I'm good. So yeah, that's about it for this video. So until next time, I will see you in the next video. Peace.